Hi. 5 years ago, three of my daughters and I were enjoying a really exhausting but fun day. We had woken up before dawn and had gone to their horse competition, and we're just kind of finishing up at the barn with some barn work that evening. We were quite tired but happy with how the competition went, and we planned for a quick dinner and an early bedtime. And when my phone went off, I looked at the caller ID and wasn't surprised at all when I saw my mom had called, because like any good grandmom, she wanted the play-by-play of how her grandkids had done that day at the competition. And so I answered the call expecting to, gush about the grandkids, and instantly I knew that something was really wrong. It took my mom like 3 times to get the words out that I could understand. Sean is dead. Sean was my sister's 49-year-old healthy, athletic husband who died suddenly, unexpectedly that day, leaving my sister and her 3 children alone. So I remember that moment, feeling my knees drop and nausea and my face flush, and then a sensation of ice being poured down my back. My kids who were with me instantly knew something was wrong, and I spent the next few minutes explaining to them what had happened. I called my husband and my other children to let them know, and then the next step was trying to figure out how I was going to get to my sister and her family as quickly as possible. Luckily, my sister lives just about an hour from here. Unluckily, my children and I weren't in Lancaster at the time. We were in South Carolina. We were on the tail end of a 6-week stay in South Carolina where my kids would cyber school and train and compete their horses during the winter when it's too cold up here to really continue. And so in a very hasty manner, we had to figure out how to get ourselves on the road and up north as quickly as possible. We spent the next few hours throwing everything together, the house and everything we had in it, the barn, everything we had in it, and we were on the road by 3 a.m., the 4 of us, 2 dogs and 4 horses in our trailer pulling north. Normally, in a car, it would take about 10 hours to get north. In a horse trailer, it takes about 12 hours. You stop for more fuel, you stop to give the horses hay and water, and there's always a few little hiccups along the way. And this day was no less with the hiccups. We hit a little bit of construction traffic, a little bit of weather traffic, a little bit of traffic due to some accidents, and then we had the obligatory flat tire on the trailer on the side of the road. Now that sounds like a big deal, but Tori and I are pretty expert at this point. We were back on the road from the side of 95 within about 20 or 30 minutes. But still, all those hiccups had kind of clumped everything together, and we were still over the 12-hour mark, and we still were not into Pennsylvania. We were on 81 in Maryland. We could see the Pennsylvania border ahead of us, and my GPS was taking me off 81 over and over again to avoid future traffic. Now, I have driven a truck and trailer for years, and I know one rule, which is you do not veer from the course to go on side roads. It's just a bad idea. But the exhaustion and the emotions had the best of me, and I made that left-hand turn off of 81 and almost instantly regretted it. On a small road, it took me up across the crest, and then my GPS veered me to the right. Now, I didn't know how high we were until you went down from this road through a thick woods. Now, at this point, it's about 4 o'clock on a Friday, on a February evening, so it's starting to get a bit dusk. And it's a twisty, turny road with drop-offs on one side and embankments on the other. And it's about 1.5 miles down, and I'm just feeling very uneasy as we dive deeper and deeper into the woods. And I regretted it every moment, but then when we came to the bottom of the hill, I breathe a sigh of relief. I see a clearing. There's still a little bit of light left. And what I see ahead, there's a stone building to my right-hand side. The stone building has a plaque on it, and it's a historic registry plaque. Right in front of the building is a road sign that shows a hard right turn. And then right next to it is a sign that warns that vehicles over a certain length cannot make this turn. On the left-hand side of the road is a rock embankment that goes straight up. All of these things are just inches off the shoulder of the road. Now, I don't know the length of my vehicle, and at that point, I was just hoping that I wasn't a vehicle of a certain length. So I stay as far to the left as I could and make a slow turn to the right, and about 75% of me makes it. And at that point, I realized that if I continued on, I was going to clip the building or get myself wedged to the back left across the stone embankment. And I paused and thought about my options. I thought about how many hours it would take me to back up the hill. And instead, I decided to try to go forward, and the few people that were in the building league at the time saw me, and they came out very angrily and really questioned my intelligence. And the barking from the backseat from the dogs, and the crying from the girls in the backseat, and my blubbering about how my brother-in-law had passed away, and we had a flat tire, and we'd been on the road for 15 hours, suddenly these people became my friends. And my daughter got out, and these two people guided me, easy does it, little by little, not a 5-point turn, but a 1,000-point turn. And like a miracle, after about 1,000 attempts, we made it through. Now I asked the kids later, how long were we there? And the answer was 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. Nobody knows. Time stood still, but we made it through. And Tori jumped from the car, almost giddy, telling me that at the worst, I had less than an inch on either side of my vehicle, but that, to the best of her knowledge, I did not touch the building and I did not touch the wall. But the severity of the day and the emotions of the day came storming back in, and we just buckled up and made the other hour home. I dropped the two girls off, I dropped the dogs off. Tori and I set the horses in the barn, unhooked the trailer, and then got back in the car and drove another hour to my sister's house. By the time we got there, we had been up for over 40 hours. There were multiple people still at my sister's house. The driveway was packed, and Tori and I paused and looked in the picture window. I remember seeing my sister and thinking about the last 40 hours and the 15-hour car ride and the flat tire and being stuck, and thinking that that was the easiest part of my day now. And even worse, that day was dwarfed compared to everything that my sister and her family continue to go through every day. And all I can do is stand around her like other friends and family. Easy does it. You got this. One day at a time. Focus on today, not tomorrow. Thank you.